They have awakened from their winter slumber, and they will fill the sky tomorrow in downtown Omaha. Bats. Handlers will release about 250 of them after they were hibernating at a wildlife rehab center.
But that release is causing concern for some neighbors in the Dundee area. They say the yearly release is an annual headache. KMTV Action 3 News reporter Nick Starling has this story. Nick?
If you've seen a bat flying around, some may think it's not the most welcoming animal to be around, but wildlife experts now say it's the time for those bats to return home. Some just don't want it to be their home. Hundreds of these big brown bats will soon get freedom and fly away from these crates.
The bats that we release tomorrow night will return to where they originally came from. They're not just going to stay in the neighborhood.
It's scary.
But for 88-year-old Marcella Miller, she doesn't want these bats coming into her neighborhood.
I don't think that they should release any more in old neighborhoods.
Miller says over the past decade, these bats have provided unwelcome company.
At one time, I caught 2 in about 6 weeks.
Eventually buying this big net to catch them.
And once it gets in here, there's no way they can get out.
Miller doesn't know how they get in or where they come from, but just wants them gone.
I couldn't believe my eyes. They fly so fast.
He's very unhappy.
Laura Stastny with Nebraska Wildlife Rehab says they released the bats at Joslin Museum because the majority of them lived in East Omaha.
Gives the bats kind of their shortest route home. So we're not having the bats have to fly 20 or 30 miles to get home.
And Stastny says the bats will not creep into any new homes, just fly into the areas they were used to.
We would never put the public in danger with a release or even with a single animal release. So the bats that we release tomorrow night, they're going to fly around the Joslin Museum for an hour or two, and then they're going to head home.
But in this home, Miller just wants the bats to mind their own business.
Just don't want them around. Very scary, very much.
Now the event is at the Joslin Museum. Activities start at 6:30. There's a short presentation about the bats. Then they will release them starting around 8 p.m. They encourage kids to come and watch the bat release, but the dogs stay at home because they'll scare away the bats and sometimes eat them if they fall down. Reporting live in studio, Nick Starling, KMTV Action 3 News.
All right, Nick.